Intellectual Dummies. We have our old friend Will Enos with us,
Thank
and
you.
we're going to be talking about left-wing terrorism. I know that sounds weird even saying because you wouldn't even hear that about 5 years ago, but left-wing terrorism with a little bit more of a focus in the latter part of the conversation on the Israel-Palestine and some of the terrorism that's happening in America because of that and overseas. I mean, just to start us off, it's weird how things have flipped so much as far as like being a liberal goes. Like if even like let's call it 2 years ago, if you were like, hey, which side do the anti-Semitic people typically side with? You'd be like, oh, well, Republicans. Republicans are the racist party. And now it's not even a question. I don't even think there's a debate there anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Obviously, I think there's anti-Semitism on both sides, but the more prominent and more visible it seems to be on the liberal side, the progressives. I would say the progressives more than anything else. Um, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy because I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's anti-Semitic people on both sides. I mean, you got your very far right extremists, but I think the difference is on the right, they condemn those people. Like that's not right. We don't associate with them. Where people on the left are more like, well, I guess it's their right to do that. They can do whatever
Yeah.
they want, like kind of like with a wink and a nod towards them. It's very weird, and that not condoning it tells people that it's kind of okay to do some of these things. Like we touched upon in the past, what happened at Columbia University, and we have anti-Semitic protests that are shutting down universities across the country. And I mean, even like right now, I mean, this isn't part of the anti-Semitic thing, but just as far as like left-wing terrorism goes, what's going on in LA? What do you think about that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, just apart from the anti-Semitism, just it always seems to be LA for some reason in
Uh,
California, where you get this kind of these crazy riots. Actually, Seattle had it during the George Floyd time,
yeah.
but it's pretty insane. I think the media is terrible regardless. You have two kind of narratives that are trying to be portrayed. On the left side, they show you certain protests that were peaceful and there wasn't riots happening. And maybe it was before riots happened, but they push that really hard. And you got people in office, people with a lot of power that are saying things a lot like, yeah, very peaceful. There's no violence. There's no this, there's no that. And that is one side. Then you have another side where it's only just showing you things of riots and violence and setting cars on fire and showing you only that. So when if you take it from one side or the other, then you're either getting, oh no, it's all peaceful and those riots are bullshit, or it's, oh, this is all riots, this is all violence, and there's really bullshit on um, the other side. So I went and kind of try to dig and just find someone more in the middle to kind of see a little bit more of a human perspective, not like media. And I came across this dude named Cam Higby on YouTube. If you just search him, he's pretty awesome. He's got a lot of really good content. But he went there and yeah, it's if you got to choose a side, I would honestly say the right is probably like the right media is a little bit more correct in what you're seeing. I mean, there is a lot of violence, there's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of burning, looting,
Yeah.
just a lot of criminal act that's happening, and it's pretty insane to me. It's absolutely crazy to me to know that these are the woke, the progressives, the people that are supposed to be the ones setting an example for like future children of giving everyone a voice, this, that, and the other. And these are the people that are smashing police vehicles with concrete and rocks, setting them on fire, breaking
Yeah.
breaking into and taking over gas stations and like strip malls and looting it, and just doing all this illegal BS. And it's weird. It's really weird to see, even though we've seen it a few times now, and now it shouldn't surprise us. I don't think it should surprise us anymore. Um, so it sucks. It sucks seeing that.
Yeah, you're definitely right about. So on my social media, I'm subscribed to both sides, a bunch of liberals and a bunch of conservatives. And you are right about how on the right you just see footage of cars burning, people doing donuts in the street, burning American flags, yada
Yeah.
yada yada, things of that nature. And on the left, you just see people marching, marching,
Singing and dancing. Yep.
walking lockstep with each other or whatever. And you got people like Maxine Waters saying, like, where's the violence? There is no violence. And you got
Yeah.
people on the news that are saying, and this is literally a quote, I'll try and edit this video in. It's just a bunch of people having fun burning cars.
Oh yeah, I saw
Oh
that.
yeah, that's what I used to do when I was a kid. I would just find your local neighborhood car and just set it
Set it on
aflame.
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they're called. They got like robo taxis in LA, and they're just call. You can call them in on your phone, and they're just calling them in and fucking setting them on fire right there. And it's like this fucking company didn't do anything. Like what
Yeah.
the fuck? But in the interest of like trying to be as unbiased as possible, what I think is happening is there are peaceful protests going on. I mean, I've seen videos of them,
I believe there are.
um,
Yeah. 100%.
but Antifa and other communist organizations um, are going to they go to whatever protest it is. It doesn't matter. I think they were there on January 6th and caused a ruckus. I think they're in LA right now causing a ruckus. I think they're at Black Lives Matter protests and causing a ruckus. And those are the people setting shit on fire. Those are the people that want to burn the establishments to the ground. But
I agree.
at the same time, the liberal media, they're telling us that it's not happening. Or it's like, oh, they're just having fun burning cars. It's like, come on
Right.
now. You
Don't
know?
gaslight. It's
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
you can have you could say, yeah, there are peaceful protests, but there's also some violence. And it doesn't have to try to, you don't like the fact that they try to hide things, it just makes it worse. It's 2025. We're not dumb, and all it takes is a little bit of research to find the truth. And I agree with you. I think a lot of the people that are inciting this violence and setting cars on fire, they don't give two shits about whatever is being protested. I see one thing I see a lot in these videos of these like riots, and even in the peaceful protests is I see Palestinian flags. I see people wearing
Yeah.
keffiyehs and covering their faces like Hamas terrorists. And it's just like, what does that have to do with
Any of that.
immigration and illegal immigration from Mexico? And what are you guys doing there? And so that's where I get those same thoughts. I'm like, these are just people that just go to every single protest and they go to just create chaos.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it's it's terrible. And then, just to take it those steps further about left-wing terrorism, I mean, you know, going back to the anti-Semitic stuff, I mean, just here, 40 minutes from my house in Boulder, you had some dude Molotoving people, old people that are just marching to shine a light on the hostages that are still in Gaza. And, a week before that, you have a dude shooting up two people because they walked out of a Jewish museum. And to me, the scary thing about that, obviously that's scary, people always stop me and they're like, wow, you wear your high necklace, like that's bold of you, that's courageous. And that's to me, I'm like, that's insane that my fellow Jews are afraid to walk around with the Star of David, with the high necklace, with anything that shows they're Jewish or whatever. And but what scares me even more is when I see videos, when I see um images or anything of those specific two incidents. We'll say the guy that shot the two people, and then the guy that Molotoved those um, walkers, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it. Seeing like the comments and the praise that these people get, that's scary. Where
yeah,
you have people that are like, "Yeah, this is great," like, fight the system, blah blah blah, and they're praising murderers. And that's insane to me. And there's so much of it. It's like, seeing comments like, yeah, get those baby killers. And it's like those those people live in Washington. One of them's from Kansas City. I just met a girl who went to school with that girl and knew her. And
uh,
um, it's like even if you have opinions about what's going on in the conflict over there, what do these two people have to do with anything? You
yeah.
know? And just the praise that you see from that side about violence and murder and hurting people is that scares the shit out of me. That's just how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's just crazy how people on the left are they want to mainstream these ideas, these kind of anti-Israel, anti-Zionist ideas, because they're not condemning them in any way, shape, or form, you know? And that's how you get these young kids. I mean, I might have brought this up on previous episodes, but when I went to school in Brookline, it was the New England Institute of Art, and I took a film class. And the film class was just a way of our teacher to just show us left wing documentaries. And one of the documentaries that we watched in college at the New England Institute of Art was a pro Palestinian documentary. And, you're in a college and you're listening to a teacher who's in a position of authority and you want to trust him and listen to him. And I trust his opinion. And here he is showing these documentaries. And fast forward, and here we are. We got people just walking up to Jewish couples and just shooting them both dead while chanting "Free, Free Palestine."
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy, I mean that's where that stuff leads to. Like, if you feel like you need to go shoot someone in the head because of that, I would say that you're definitely living inside of a bubble. Definitely living inside of a bubble. I mean, even when we first started this conversation about when this whole war kicked off, you know, I know you're more on the side of Israelis, obviously, because you're Jewish and stuff like that, which makes sense. But you were also making arguments like, oh, well, you know what? I can totally see their claim to the territory too. Like, I get it, but it is very nuanced. But when you get the people that are so hardcore on one side or so hardcore on the other side, and you end up just murdering strangers, you gotta fucking touch grass, my friend, you know?
Yeah.
Just crazy. It's just crazy. I mean, the Molotov guy, there was a, well, you sent me a couple articles here.
Yeah. Also,
Another Colorado attack, eight
yeah.
hurt by men shouting Free Palestine. Um, what else? The staffers that were killed.
And I sent you that specific article because of the headline. All the other headlines, this is where the left wing, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic bias really comes into play, is if you go on Google and you search for that, most of the headlines are things like, what we know about the attack in Boulder. These are the things that led to the Boulder attack, and it's like, why don't you just call it for what it is? Man attacks innocent civilians yelling "Free Palestine" with Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good headline. Because that's literally what it is. And it's like, at what point do we, call this free Palestine like a war cry for terror?
It is.
At
Yeah.
what point do we just accept it? If you start, as a Jew, if I hear some person just like yelling free Palestine, to me, that's like, I get put in fight or flight mode. It's like,
Yeah.
what's this mean? Like, what does that mean to you? Does that mean, oh, like I believe that Palestinians deserve a state and should have some kind of right in their country, and Hamas should be wiped off the face of the planet, and there should be peace, and like you said, we take over their institutions and stop brainwashing them into hate? Or does that mean kill Israel from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free? Like, what does that mean to you? And when
Yeah.
you see acts of violence and murder while people are screaming that, it's like, when are we going to coin it? When are we just going to be like, okay, like that's not protected by free speech anymore?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, calls to violence are not protected free speech. I mean, there's limitations to everything.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, even I think Harvard University, since we last talked, just lost like a shitload of money in funding.
Yeah.
Or, well, I forget what that woman's name is, but not condoning or doing anything about the anti-Semitic rhetoric that was going on the campus. And even when they're in front of some of these people, when they're in front of the an investigatory committee, right? And they're investigating something, in this case, liberal bias and anti-Semitic stuff on campuses, and then they'll have like the president of the campus, and then they just go down the line and just grill this person with questions, and they're asking these presidents of these colleges like, is it in your handbook to like do something about this? And like just watching them dance around the question or answer it and just straight up lie is fucking crazy. I think Harvard lost like, I know it was at least hundreds of millions of dollars
Yeah.
in grant funding and stuff like that from the federal
Didn't
government.
Columbia too? I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure.
probably,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, but I mean, even just shouting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That's a genocidal slogan,
Hmm.
in my opinion. And and I mean, I don't want to say it's equal to terrorism, but terrorism is when you commit violence in the name of a political agenda, right? So if anything, those are terroristic threats at the very least,
Hmm.
you know. And it's just crazy how much the left has changed in this regard. Um,
It's easy. It's easy to scapegoat for the left. There's in that narrative when you were in college and they were showing you the videos, it's the narrative of these white European colonizers are taking over the brown people. And
yeah,
it's very easy now for the left to just use that always as their scapegoat. It's poor brown people have no autonomy and they can't, fend for themselves because the white people, the white man is taking over everything. And, it's just easy. It's easy for them to just always stick with that narrative and not look at anything. You just look at Iran for a moment, and Persians were taken over, years ago, and but you don't hear like a huge outcry. I mean, you look at what it was like in Iran in the '60s, and it looked like LA, you
Yeah, I
know.
know. I know.
And then you have that absolute takeover, and yeah, so I think it's just easy to use, I mean, in particular, Jews as a scapegoat. It's crazy to me seeing, I growing up in Scituate, right? The most Irish town in America.
Yeah.
And I definitely like knew anti-Semitism existed. Like I'd go in the bathroom stall in middle school and there'd be swastikas all over the place.
Yeah.
And I always thought like it's just a bunch of idiot kids that don't know shit, And so I kind of always gave them the benefit of the doubt. But now I look at things and like I said, like those comments and I see people say some of the most whacked out shit like yeah, the Jews did 9/11 and every single problem that ever happened in the world, especially the United States, is because of the Jews. And they have all this shit and I'm like this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is absolutely insane. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that, yeah, is just like I don't know, far left wingers, that
Yeah. You know what's interesting too? You actually touched upon a couple things that I want to talk about is I think you definitely got to the root of what's going on when you were talking about the white colonization because that's what these people that's kind of like almost like their central premise, their overall umbrella is um, European colonialism, right? And that's why they want to burn down all these institutions. That's why they think America is so evil. They look at Israel as occupying land that they don't deserve. And I mean, all across the world too. Oh, here's European culture moving in and taking people over. What that whole spiel. Um, but in my opinion, someone who is of European descent who grew up in America, I guess my response to that would be good.
just
Good. I'm glad. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. Let's do it more. If I was dictator, Iraq would be a US province. Syria would be a US province. Um, I mean, Afghanistan would be a US province. And that's how I would play it because here's the thing our culture is better than all these other cultures, in my opinion. Hey, we're not perfect, but European culture ended slavery everywhere that it was spread to. I mean, look at the British Empire. They spent their own money trying to end slavery all across the world,
our country fought a war to
to
end
end slavery. Exactly. The first free land in the entire world was the state of Vermont, was the first piece of land in the entire world that just didn't have slavery, which is crazy. So yeah, that is their central theme. It's like they're just anti-imperialism altogether, no nuance, no nothing. They want to burn it down. They'll use terrorism to burn it down. But like again, my response is good. I'm glad. Let's colonize them. Their culture sucks. They fucking, some Muslim countries they have sex with little boys. It's fucking disgusting. You know, keeping women in fucking trash bags. I mean, look at what's going on in Afghanistan right now. How regressed it's become since we left. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And but another point that you said that I wanted to touch upon. What was your point right after that?
Um, so the oh yeah, about how people use like Jews as a scapegoat when I was talking about like
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, you got the anti-Semitism on the left, right? But it's weird because what I've noticed recently online too is there's a lot coming from the very fringe parts of the right are somehow like creeping in and talking like your Nick Fuentes types. Do you know who that is?
yeah, he's the dude who like shot someone on his right out of his door, right? Is that
Yeah, I think he like I don't know if he maced him or did
Oh
something.
right, Mace. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I never looked into it. I really don't know who Nick Fuentes is. I've never really
Yeah,
heard
I've
of him.
heard the name, but yeah.
Yeah, but he's one of those guys that just blames the Jews for everything, you know? Oh, they're always the head of institutions and like, and then there's a couple other people that have just been like creeping into my algorithm for some reason, and it's like, granted, I can see some of these people are like just like trying to be funny or shock jocks or something, but at the same time, it's like, wait a minute, why is the fringes of the right now trying to fucking come into the mainstream
Yeah.
things? I don't know if you've noticed that, but I certainly have noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the majority of those conspiracy theorists are usually on that fringe, that far right
Yeah.
side. But it's crazy because it is. It's like the far left and the far right are kind of like meeting in one spot.
Yeah, I know.
And
Yeah.
it revolves around like that like Jews and shit. And I just man, it like makes me laugh, when I hear some of these things, but also it's scary when you just like sometimes I'll go in those deep dives on like Reddit or whatever, and like even on that recent plane crash, um, I was on Reddit and I'm like looking at this comments, and this one comment said something like, "Oh yeah, some Jew, had to rearrange some things on the plane, and that's the reason why it went down. And they did this one thing for seat 11A to keep it." And then you just see comment after comment after comment, be like, "Well, yeah, the Jews did 9/11, and the Jews this and the Jews that, and blah blah blah." And I'm just like, this is crazy that so many people in this world not only actually think this way, but they feel just so comfortable just talking that. And I think to myself, like, what if people like just said that about black people? The blacks, they did it, and it was all part of their plan. They were still pissed
Yeah.
about Africa, and so like the world, the U.S. government, like they would not let that slide. There would be protests every single day. You see like in what's his name, David Portney or whatever Portnoy's like
Yeah.
bar, he had some dudes like putting up like fuck the Jews, right? And that's just so normalized for people. What if it said fuck the blacks?
Yeah.
What an outcry that would be. And it's become just so just no, yeah, just hate on the Jews. Like, fuck it, it's easy. It's
It's crazy just to talk about like that dichotomy real fast. Because I always try and put things in like, hey, if you take that word out and just put in any other race,
yeah.
and if it doesn't sound good, then it doesn't
Gender.
sound good the other way either. Like it's funny how like, with the left mainstreaming this stuff, this anti-Semitic stuff is kind of like normal. Nobody really bats an eye. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, if you say anything at all, any criticism at all about the black community, you're fucking fired. See you
Fired.
later.
Yeah.
You're racist.
You say
Yeah,
something about women, misogynist.
yeah,
Say
exactly.
something like, "Hey, I can't control my height, but you can control your weight. You fat shamer." And it's
Yeah,
insanity, but it's like Jews did 9/11. Yeah, that makes sense. There was a
yeah.
couple Jews on that plane. I can see that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy because it's like, I mean, Jews in themselves are very yeah, very successful demographic. I mean, they work hard, they stick together, nothing wrong with that. And it's, you do find a lot of Jewish people at the heads of institutions, but it's like when you guys are webbing together this conspiracy theory, like the Jews did 9/11, you got to loop in a lot of non-Jewish people too. So
Yeah.
it's like at that point, it becomes a non-Jewish conspiracy theory, and it just doesn't make that narrative just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. It's again, I think it's just easy. It's easy, like path of least resistance.
Yeah.
You just have something to scapegoat, you have something to just blame, and no one wants to do the dirty work on really trying to dig deep and figure out, why things got to where they are, context behind things. It's just easy to say, oh yeah, Jews are from Europe, they're colonizers. Like go back to Europe, and it's like, okay, well, like play that out. Like, or go where?
Yeah.
Where are Jews from? Like, why are they in Europe? Oh, because they were kicked out of what land?
Yeah. Yeah.
They got multiple times. It's like you just, I don't know. But it's weird just seeing things like that come from the left. I always, you know me, I always we grew up kind of the same, like left, like just being like, yeah, just be a decent human being. And that's what I always thought being a liberal was just be a decent human being. Like, you can have your opinions, you can have disagreements, but I'm not gonna, you know, act differently towards you if you think, if you're like, yeah, like there shouldn't be abortions, and I think abortions are fine. And um, I'm not gonna change the way I think about you and like defriend you because of a disagreement. Whereas to nowadays, you say one thing you disagree with someone, and it's just immediate hatred. And I see this like meme all the time, where it says things like people on the left and are typically more unhappy and angry
Yeah.
people, and it just makes sense because there's always something to like piss them off, and you
Yeah.
know, it's just
Yeah.
they
Everything's
can't be happy.
oppressive. Everything's oppressive. Like, you know, um,
Yeah, everything's
certain words you can't use. I had one friend, I was talking about my ex-girlfriend. I was like, yeah, my ex-girlfriend, she was a fucking whore. And she was like, I don't like that word. And I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. She had sex a lot with a bunch of different guys. I don't, like what the fuck. It's like, why is that a bad thing? It's just like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, it's just weird that I mean, the left just tries to police everything. They're offended over everything. You can't say gay, you can't say retarded, all that, and it's they are the more unhappy demographic because they're always so uptight about everything.
yeah,
But just to reel it back a little bit, they're always unhappy about all these different things, and they're always going to be first on board to just hop onto a cause or whatever. I mean, you had your throw up your Ukraine flags, throw up your pride flags. Uh, now it's going to be, I saw a joke, this was on the Daily Wire. Throw up your Palestine flags, and soon it's going to be throw up your fucking Iran flags.
yeah,
It's fucking crazy. Now let's talk about what happened there. And
man.
if there's anything that I've learned in geopolitics, it's just don't fuck with Israel, right? Like, I don't know.
It
Can you fill us in on what's been going on over there?
it's it's a simple code of ethic, honestly. Don't fuck with Israel, man. I mean, if you don't fuck with them, they're not gonna fuck with you,
Hmm.
but if you fuck with them, like they're gonna hit way harder every time because A, they're in the Middle East. And in the Middle East, you have to show strength and power. If you're not showing strength, then you'll just get walked all over. B, look at what happened to the Jews in like one person ago. Not even, it hasn't even been 100 years
Yeah, it hasn't.
since
Yeah.
World War II. We still have survived. My grandfather is a survivor of the Holocaust. He had to dress
Wow.
up as a little blonde girl to escape it. Had a blonde wig
Wow. I didn't
and
even know that.
yeah. So
Wow.
his story is incredible, and he's still alive. It's not even a full person ago where we dealt with um, a real genocide, and that's let's not forget, like that's where the word came from. It was the Holocaust, and so yeah, you fuck with Israel and Jews where we all have that generational trauma. I mean, that's a real thing, and so like you talk to kind of give you a little bit of context of like that generational trauma. You have people, let's say a grandfather and a grandmother that survived the Holocaust, and let's say they were in a camp, right? Where they got out of the camp being 75, 80 pounds, my height, something like that. When they get to a free place and they're able to actually live a life away from persecution and away from death and all that, when they have their kids, people don't realize like they fatten those kids up. Any chance that their kids has a chance to eat, you eat. And
Yeah, yeah.
so I've met people that grew up as a fat kid because their grandparents were crazy about feeding their kids, and that instilled into those kids. So then when they had kids, being like our age now, it's like that mentality kept going. Like you eat, even if you're not hungry, you still eat. Like any chance that you have to get food, like eat that food. And like that's that kind of generational trauma in a state that's the size of New Jersey, that's majority Jewish. If you fuck with it, like that stuff comes back,
Oh, absolutely.
So, and Jews want to exist. They want to exist, and they have Western values just like we do. Um, but they're surrounded in a sea of Muslim and Arab controlled countries that, I mean, I'm not going to I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Those countries suck. They suck.
Yeah, they do.
You know, Egypt practices female genital mutilation, cut off
Jesus.
clitorises of women so they can't feel pleasure when they get essentially raped to have kids.
My goodness.
In Palestine and Gaza, they still do slavery. They kill
Yeah.
gays off roofs. There's apartheid in Lebanon against Palestinians. In Jordan, even though it's 80% Palestinian, there's a somewhat of an apartheid there. They're not allowed full citizenship of Jordan. They're not allowed to have jobs like being doctors and lawyers and things like that. These are places that are terrible,
Yeah.
honestly. Maybe they got good food, cool, sweet, but um, so yeah, like just to just go back on your point, like if you fuck with a country that doesn't want to be fucked with and has been fucked with for 3,000 years, a people, they're not gonna sit back and just allow it to happen.
Yeah.
So this whole thing with Iran right now is, I don't know. I have optimism that we're gonna see the end of the regime.
Oh, absolutely. I think so too.
It's either that or Trump is gonna somehow get a deal with them, and then it's just gonna be status quo for another few years. But the way that I saw it, I mean, I was waiting for this attack to happen, and I just see it. Israel had two options: either fight a war against Iran when they don't have weapon grade enriched uranium, when Iran doesn't have weapon grade enriched uranium, doesn't have 10,000 ballistic missiles, doesn't have nuclear weapons, or they fight a war against Iran that does have enriched uranium and 10,000 ballistic missiles and nuclear warheads. And we all know that Iran is devout to the destruction of Israel and the United States.
Yeah.
They've never wavered in their belief that Israel has to be gone and wiped off the face of the planet. So Israel had to make a choice. Do we hit now before they get weapon grade and all these ballistic missiles, or do we wait till they have all that shit? And they made the decision. They attacked now. And what an amazing attack it was, man. They
I know.
fucked them up. Um, Very targeted attacks, uh, nuclear sites, um, top officials, military outposts. And then, of course, what do you see Iran do? They just indiscriminately shoot bombs into Tel Aviv and
Yeah.
just like kill anyone you can. So, pretty insane.
Yeah,
Pretty,
I mean, what happened in Iran too, like this last attack, was so coordinated and just
precise.
impressive. To me, it was like tantamount to when they blew up Hezbollah with all those beepers. It's like, oh shit, they had those cards?
Yeah.
That's an insane card to have. So now Iran, they had already gotten their Air Force taken out,
Yep.
which is awesome. So they had basically open skies, right?
Yeah. And their air defense. Yeah.
Yeah,
From a
exactly.
year ago.
Everything, air
Yeah.
defense, all their planes and everything, all taken out or just rendered useless in some way, shape, or form. And now you have for the last couple of months, Trump, Netanyahu, and the Shah of Iran there trying to negotiate a deal. And I think what Iran misplayed was this isn't the Obama administration. This isn't that. You're not, you think you're going to bide your time and cut a deal. I mean, Ben Shapiro said it best when he goes, Iran is the worst at fighting wars, but they're the best at peace negotiations, right? So you have open skies over Iran. And I think between Trump and Netanyahu, there was a time in the media where they were reporting like, oh, Trump and Netanyahu aren't really getting along. They aren't really getting along.
Had me worried.
But I think that was all just a play to keep Iran comfortable. Oh, don't worry. Oh, the United States, they're not getting along. Oh, Trump doesn't get along with anybody. They're probably going to cut a deal and blah blah blah. But I mean, behind the scenes, they're just doing that to keep Iran comfortable. And when Trump gave like, hey, you got 60 days to come to the table and make a decision. 61 days, missile production, nuclear facilities, other weapons depots, all that. We're all hit by like 200 Israeli jet fighters.
Yeah.
And what's even like the biggest slap in the face too was they're refueling their jets over Iranian airspace,
Yeah.
which is just something that you don't do. But that's just like the biggest fuck you ever.
Yeah. They're like, whatever you try to do, like, we got eagle eye on you right now.
Yeah, and they had um, air defense missiles. Israeli had air defense missiles in Iran, in Iran, which is crazy. That's how deep the Mossad
Yeah.
got into Iran, and that really goes to show too that Iran is a formerly westernized country. A lot of them, I know I don't know
Yeah.
how many, I couldn't put a number on it, but I bet you at least 30% of the people over there don't like living under that regime.
There's a lot of outspoken support for Israel coming from Persian Iranians. That yeah, obviously there's other ones that are against it, but there's a lot. If you do some digging, and you don't have to dig that deep, like you do see a lot of Iranians that are happy and they welcome what's happening because if they're able to take back against the regime, like then you'll literally have another country in the Middle East that will look somewhat like Israel or
Yeah.
Western values, you know, and um, yeah, it's crazy, you know, when you just have these theocratic takeovers in
Yeah.
governments, and you know, it's so prominent in Muslim countries. So. Yeah, it is, and man, like the Mossad, and you know, I guess you know we were talking about earlier. They were like, oh, the Jews, all this, that, and the other, and then you see an event like this where it was such a strategic, such a precise attack, hitting all these things, the things you were saying with having missile defense systems in Iran, the jets there. It's like I guess I can see how it's easy for people to just escape like yeah the Jews run everything and but you gotta like there's always context behind things, and one of the things that I always bring up with people is A, there's not a lot of Jews in the world, right? There's 16 million, and 10 of those 16 million live in Israel, and then the majority of the rest are in like New York. And
Yeah.
um, so when Jews get killed, like Israel is very upset about those things.
Mm.
And so one of the things that created or maybe not created the Mossad, but elevated the Mossad to a level where people are like Mossad is everywhere, because that is something I'm kind of like I could kind of agree with. Like
Yeah.
Mossad probably is everywhere. But the Munich massacre, when you go to the Olympics and you had Palestinian terrorists murder and kill Israelis in Munich during the Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a moment where Jews were like, we need to make sure that we protect our people everywhere, everywhere in the world. And so that was a real defining moment in the 70s for Israel and just for the world to be like, Israel is not going to allow if they can do anything to stop attacks, to prevent things from you know damaging Israel or their people, they're going to do that. And so it's just another reason just to kind of back up what you said. Just like just don't fuck with Israel. Just it's not wise. There would not be a war right now if Hamas didn't do what they did in October 7th. There wouldn't be one.
There
Everyone
wasn't.
would still
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
alive. There wouldn't be one dead Palestinian. There wouldn't be buildings would still be standing. But they did. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. What's crazy too is something we forgot to mention is during this attack, pretty much every position of high command in their military got wiped out and their replacements as they slept. Like
Yeah,
it was so coordinated that they would shoot like a missile or some type of explosive device into a building and made sure that it infiltrated that building into the guy's bedroom specifically.
it's crazy.
You know, just crazy intelligence,
And
crazy, crazy intelligence.
And they did it that way, so they hit them first, and then they hit the nuclear installments and the other military outposts because they knew if they hit military or other kind of installments, then those people in their beds would run to some kind of safe place or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. So they're like, we're gonna start with these people in their beds. And then once they're all scrambling there and they don't have any people to give orders, then we're going to also take out these military installments and their nuclear facilities.
yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure I just saw recently they also hit some gas depot.
Oh,
So now like Iranians can't even like refuel their jets, like all that kind of stuff. There's
wow, huh?
they do they yeah, but a lot of those missiles that they shot in Israel got through. I don't know if you saw some of the
I did. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like there's a, you know, there's a place in Rishon LeZion that looks a little bit like Gaza right now.
Oh, wow, that's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I did see videos of just missiles coming down, and I mean, the Iron Dome. It's good for sun projectiles, but not a lot of like the smaller ones or something like that, right?
Yeah, the Iron Dome is for more of like Hamas rockets, smaller ones, more short range.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
It's not good against ballistic. And then they have, I think it's called the Aero defense system for more ballistic, but still, those are tough. And I'm pretty sure Iran used a few hypersonic missiles, and there's no defense against that. And those are some of the ones that hit pretty hard.
yeah.
So again, like Israel's not going to let that slide. I think a few, yeah, I think it was last I checked, it was a minimum of two deaths from the missile attack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I read too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna see a few weeks of craziness, a lot of back and forth, but unless Iran gets a deal struck, I mean it feels like the beginning of the end of that regime. It really
Oh,
does.
absolutely. I think it's definitely going to crumble. Uh,
Yeah.
we're going to start looking at a whole new Middle East in the next coming decade for sure.
Yeah.
Um, now, just to wrap things up, I'm just curious because we've had, I don't know, maybe about a handful of episodes on what's been going on in Palestine and the Middle East and stuff like that. This one was a little different, but it's been a little bit over a year now, and my question for you is: when we first started, you were like, "Yeah, you're not really a practicing Jew or anything like that." And this might be a weird question, but has everything that's happened made you more Jewish? Like, did it, I guess to put it, in a way, did it make you feel like a Jew more? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I get your question. Religiously, no. I'm still pretty non-religious. But in the sense of how, so like for instance, I never really wore my high necklace. That's not something
Yeah,
that was ever important to me. But after October 7th, that became important to me. So being more outspoken about being a Jew, yes.
yeah,
I went, before I would always kind of keep my mouth shut about serving in the IDF. Now, like when I would talk about my military service, you'd have to ask me a lot of questions before I'd finally say something like I was in the IDF. Now
yeah,
it's like the second question, I'm like, yeah, when I served, like, oh, where did you serve? I'm like in the IDF. And so
yeah,
um, that's something that I've noticed more about me. And then just kind of, yeah, that feeling. I've done more Shabbat dinners. I've gone to a few synagogues for some holidays and things like that. So I definitely feel like I've become a little bit more outspoken about being a Jew.
yeah.
Um,
Like more in touch with your identity,
yeah,
your
yeah,
heritage and stuff like that, because it's at stake.
it is,
At
and
stake,
and
you know?
and I'm not going to cower. Like I said at the beginning, a lot of Jews that I talk to, they always say like you have a lot of bravery and courage for wearing something like that. I'm afraid to wear my Star of David. I'm afraid to wear my chai, and um, so because I've always felt that connection to the land of Israel. Every time I go to Israel, I that's where I feel home. It's hard to explain. But like pretty much every time the plane touches down in Israel, I start crying, and it's just like an overwhelming kind of feeling, and I've always had that ever since I moved there at 18. So I've always felt that, but now I feel it more, and
Yeah,
and definitely um, it's important to me, when I talk to people. and they don't and they're not educated about things to very calmly and unbiasedly like try to educate them. I remember hanging out with some friends and we were drinking and so some he asked started asking me some questions and he was like, I'm not trying to um create an argument. I'm not trying to offend you or anything, but I have this friend who's Palestinian, and she talks about Israel and all the time, and then just starts spitting out all those talking points that they
Mm.
always say. And it was important to me to have that conversation very calmly and just start asking him questions and try to get his mind to start thinking about things. And then it's cool to see, their eyes kind of opening and they're like, "Oh yeah, like okay, like that does make sense. So this doesn't make sense. So then how does this, and you can see like the
Yeah,
pain in the so that is something that I've never done before October 7th. Even if I knew about it. And so yeah, I would to answer your question, I do feel more Jewish.
nice. Yeah, that's, I mean, your homeland is arguably one of the most, as far as history goes, one of the most important and consequential places in world history.
Hmm.
You got the most powerful empires in the entire world in world history there, the Assyrians, the Babylonians,
Yep.
and
The biblical shit is
yeah,
all.
the whole religious thing
Yep.
too. I mean, it's like I mean, the first civilizations that ever existed too.
Hmm.
I mean that whole area. So I mean,
It's
yeah, and then that's you. That's your homeland. That's your identity. I mean, it's crazy. One of the oldest religions in the entire world that's still kicking around.
yeah. I love the fact that the Hebrew language died when extinct and came back. I think
I
that's
didn't even know that. That's cool.
it's one of the coolest things, like when they were ripped out of the land and taken over, and obviously Jews still lived there and stuff, but they weren't the majority, and then they were taken, and so yeah, they just had the language just left, and you would only be in prayer that you would have that language or whatever, but then it came back and people started using it. I mean, that's like why like Yiddish, in Europe, Jews weren't speaking Hebrew; they were speaking Yiddish, some fake gibberish language for the Jews. So,
Yeah.
but then Israel comes back and you got the language again. So it's one of the things that I think is super cool. But yeah, that's the Holy Land. I definitely feel more Jewish and proud of it. You
Yeah,
know?
no, that's awesome, man. I mean, shit, man. I mean, I've been getting into me and my brother Paul. We've been getting into a lot of religious stuff. Like right now, we're just hardcore studying the Bible, and then after that, we're gonna study all the Torah. And I know Jewish people have a couple different books that they read, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's what is it? The Amalek?
I'm not even sure. I'm not, but
Yeah.
that's gonna be the next thing we get into, and yeah, man. I mean, it's good to get in touch with your heritage. I mean, maybe you'll start reading the doctrine, maybe.
Maybe. I did read a good amount of the Quran.
Oh, interesting. We're gonna be tackling that too.
Yeah, yeah. It's not the most peaceful.
That's fine. Hey, well, when me and my brother get to the Quran, man, if you want to hop
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
ship and study it with us, man, by all means.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I've gotten like a good chunk in through, and I haven't. It's been a few months, but I remember just reading things and things like if this person shall not kneel to Allah, then you are right to stone them to death. And I'm just like, Shit.
Yeah, yeah, that's fucking nuts. That is nuts. But
But yeah, dude, that would be cool. So keep me posted on that, man.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you're into the religion thing, I mean, we're going to be starting Exodus this week. So yeah, if that's something you're into, just let me know and fucking we'll get you on board. You know, we just finished up with Genesis, so we're doing Exodus next, and we'll see what's up. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
but
hopefully all this shit can die down in the States and people kind of start realizing how crazy they've been, but I don't think it will. I think we're in for a lot of interesting days. But regardless of all that, I just want to say I love this country. I think we're still in the best time to be alive. I would so rather be alive now than in the fucking 50s or the 40s or
yeah, absolutely.
any time before that. And the shit that we're dealing with now, I mean, every single time in humanity has crazy shit. Absolutely crazy. Whether it be sacrificing people in the name of your religion, whether it be now Egyptians Molotoving, 75-year-old Holocaust survivors in the name of free Palestine. You're always going to have just absolutely crazy shit. And I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be in a country where we can have these conversations and not get thrown into a fucking concentration camp like China.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. No, yeah, it's absolutely true, man. I mean, even not even China, man. I mean, well, you can go to the fucking UK and people are going to jail for memes. You
That's
know,
true. That's true. Yeah. And we're
and
I don't want this country to get to that. And it does kind of sometimes when you see shit like this have a feel that like we are getting there, but I don't know. I have a belief that at some point enough is going to be enough and we're going to have not like a reform, but just, you know,
yeah,
it's just going to get kind of go back to how it was like in maybe not go back, but but resemble how it was in like 2010, 2000.
yeah, I think it will too. At least as far as like our our culture is going, because right
Yeah.
now our culture just started going crazy one way. People are like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Trainees in schools. I don't know. I think we did. I think we fucked up somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's reel it back a little bit. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I think sometimes you got to go through some crazy shit in order to get back to a little bit of normalcy.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yes, yeah,
To
exactly. The
quote a
calm,
Devil
yeah,
Drummer
yeah,
song.
yeah, that's right.
But all right, man. Well, we'll definitely talk again soon. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see what's up.
Right on. Thanks again for having me.
No
Appreciate it.
problem.